Welcome to Renegade Thinkers Unite, featuring the sharpest minds in marketing, inspirational case histories, and weekly insights you can apply to your business. Find out why top CMOs rank this podcast among their favorites. Now, here's your host, Chief Marketing Renegade, Drew Nizer.
Now, I'm not that old, but years ago, Groucho Marx hosted a TV show called You Bet Your Life. And each episode had a secret word. Now, Groucho had this New York accent, so he would say the secret word, and the guest would win a prize. So, today's secret word on Renegade Thinkers Unite is chatbot. Remember the word. Those little critters that you find on more and more websites, eagerly awaiting your queries. They're right there in the lower corner and they say, how can I help you today? Or what's new, Drew? And that's the creepy ones. But then they're there and sometimes they just say, I'm browsing, and they say, that's cool. But they're there and you're seeing them on more and more B2B sites. And it turns out, at least with my guest today, we're gonna hear about this, that those little critters and the idea behind them are indeed the secret to a faster sales cycle and improved customer experiences, and maybe even some more stuff that we'll learn today. So to dive deeper into this topic, I have a real human and a fellow podcaster with me, Dave Gerhardt, who is the CMO of Drift and a co-author of a new book called Conversational Marketing, How the World's Fastest Growing Companies Use Chatbots to Generate Leads 24/7, 365, and how you can do too. By the way, that is the longest second part of a title,
So I'm VP of marketing. One day there'll be a C next to that.
Okay. It's a good correction. VP of marketing.
Yeah, it's okay. And so the topic is conversational marketing for sure. And the title is long, but now you said it and you remember it. So you never remember that guy had a really short title for the book.
I see. Well, that's the strategy. And Dave is an interesting, by the way, welcome to the show. And I noticed on your bio, you were the 6th employee at Drift, which now has over 300 employees. What attracted you to Drift back in 2015?
Honestly, the thing that attracted me was the founders, David Cancel and Elias Torres, two guys that I had gotten to know, not personally, but through the Boston startup community. And they built some of the best sales and marketing software of the last decade. And I heard that they were starting a new company. They had left a company called HubSpot. They left HubSpot to go start a new company. And I just who are those guys? What are they going to go do? I want to be a part of it somehow. I found out that they were hiring their first marketing person. Long story short, met them, got the job, and was really the first marketing person here at Drift. And the advice that I give to a lot of people earlier in their career was that the best bet that I made was just on people. I had to make a decision. Did I want to earn or did I want to learn? And for me at that time, it was about learning. And so I didn't care what they did or when they were going to do it, but I wanted to kind of hitch my wagon to theirs, and the rest is history.
No, I have a good friend who's a big and very successful investor, and he always talks about, I bet on the jockey, not the horse, and that makes a lot of sense. So that's cool. Now, I've been listening to your podcast with DC David Cancel, who was a co-author of the book with you and the CEO, and you guys have a great rapport. And so I feel like I know you, but the guests who may not listen to your podcast, may not know you. So I thought we would try this, and you maybe even do this at your company, but the sort of 2 truths and a lie?
Sure.
So give us 2 truths and a lie and see how that goes.
Wow, this is pretty good. Do you want two truths and a lie about me? Or about,
this is to get to know you. This is the Insty version of getting to know you.
Okay. Two truths and a lie. I'm a father. I used to sell deals at Drift for $20 on webinars, and I can speak Spanish.
I see. Yo creo que no. Let's see. So I would say the second one was the lie, but I'm just guessing.
No, I can't speak Spanish.
Yeah, there you go.
The first 2 are true.
All right. Well, there we go.
first deals we sold, I was trying to sell Drift for $20
There
in the
you
webinar.
go.
We hired a VP of sales. He didn't like that so much.
All right. Well, we'll forgive you for not speaking Spanish. And we are going to, by the way, we talked about this before we got on the air. We're going to record a special spot on podcasting alone with Dave. So we're not going to talk about that now. So we've gotten this out of the way. We know you now. You don't speak Spanish. Very cool. By the way, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah. Cool.
Love Friday.
Yeah, I know. I purposely, by the way, don't date the shows. I don't talk about the context of it because these people listen to shows like 18 months later. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
I had a guest on the show who listened to episode 0, which was weird. That was like 3 years ago. And I said, oh, why that one?
There was an interesting thread. Like we could talk about this in the podcast episode, but people don't often go back and listen to old stuff.
Right.
It's all new. Did you just switch from iced coffee to hot coffee?
No, it's the same. It's just I had 2 coffees. I got one big coffee. I steam my milk, and it's all good. All right.
Got it.
So thank you for asking that. All right, we're going to dig in. Let's read the book, enjoyed it, and the first thing that caught my attention was that you guys recommended nixing the lead form, getting rid of gated content. And I could just, we have clients and I know lots of folks and they're going, but how am I going to show that we got leads that we could put into the pipeline? I mean, they're panicking in the streets when you say that. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, I was too. I was panicking when David, our CEO, came to me and with that proposal said, I want you to get rid of all of our lead forms and gated content. And I almost jumped out of my apartment at the time because it's like, well, you hired me to generate leads and now you're going to take this away from me. What do you want me to do? And his point was, look, we are going to go teach the market about a new way to do marketing that is about now, that is conversational marketing. And so we can't do it like everybody else. And so we need to eat in our own restaurant and be able to go show everybody how we did it. And so, the real answer outside of that, like personal side of the story is instead of forms, you're using bots, right, to capture leads. But the big difference is instead of a form submission, it's a conversation. And so when you fill out a form, it's binary. Either you fill it out or you don't. With a conversation, we have so many more people that come to our website and say, hey, I saw you from the podcast. I have a question. Is your pricing $500 a month, or is your event tomorrow, or how do I get to your office? Like everything is a conversation instead of a form submission, which is where all this stuff really starts.
Okay. So you guys made that switch. And what happened? I mean, because suddenly there aren't leads. You don't have email addresses. Yeah, you're having a conversation, but at some point, somebody's got to capture something to nurture, or do we just go from conversation to sale?
So there are times when people go from conversation to sale or conversation right to demo, where they get on a Zoom call and do a demo. But I think the biggest misconception is you still are capturing leads. And so the thing that we talked about was not, hey, everybody, stop capturing leads, right? It was, no, of course, you want to get in contact information so you can have a conversation with somebody. But what we learned is that today, the way people buy, and there's so much data on this, there's, Harvard Business Review, Boston Consulting Group, Forrester has a great article about the death of a B2B salesman. And basically the concept is more and more people, 80% of people are now showing up on a company's website, having done almost all of the research that they need to buy. And so the whole premise is based on that is if you're showing up with almost all the answers on somebody's website, why do most websites act like they've never had any information about them before? Hello there. If you'd like to learn more from us, put your information here, right?
And by the way, I was looking at it, and I'm embarrassed to say that it was the client we were working with, and there were like 14 different slots on the form fill, and it was like, I wouldn't give that. Now, on the other hand, I do use Dashlane. It auto fills. It's not that big a deal. It takes me 2 seconds, but it's what? You don't need that. Like an email, you know everything you need to know about me today.
So boom, you nailed it. You know what you're talking about. Where like, especially the other pieces to make make marketers feel a little bit better about tracking and capturing leads is the technology has gotten so good today that especially for a business email, you can enrich that with all the data to know who that person is, what company they're at, how much revenue that company's doing, where they're located, so you can route it to the right rep, like the right territory. all that stuff can basically be triggered off of an email. So those two things have kind of met in the middle where it is the perfect time to focus on conversations.
Okay, so you're a sophisticated B2B marketer. You have a lot of tools. I think some folks that might be listening that are running a family-owned business and they haven't invested in the marketing, even though they're doing very well, they've got maybe even a couple $100 million in sales. They don't have an infrastructure yet. When they hear you say there's stuff that can do it, you make it sound so easy. But you got to add tools. You got to put lead feeder on there, and then you got to put something else that sniffs out what that possible email address is. I mean, and then you have to have people to manage it. It's not as simple as, hey, you just boom, throw a switch, and suddenly you can go from the person visiting to knowing their email address, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to pitch it that way, but let's be honest. To anything worth doing in marketing, like anything that's going to be good in marketing, is you have to spend time and effort on it. And so there is no magic bullet. You could say that about Drift. You could say that about podcasting. Hey, I want to start a podcast. Oh, wait a second, this is really hard, right? Like there is some work, and so the principles of marketing still apply. You need to be able to write good copy. You need a hook. You need a headline. You need to be able to tell a story. You need to have a unique value proposition. All those things still apply. So it's definitely not magic. However, it's a better way of doing things than most companies have been using marketing and sales technology for the last decade.
Okay, so in your opinion, is there any content today that a brand could put on their website that would be worth gating?
Yes, for sure. It just depends. To me, it just depends on the value of it. So I think what's changed is 10 years ago, you could gate almost anything. And the reason why is because very few people were creating information. And so information was not free, right? You had to pay for it. Today, everybody has a podcast. Everybody has a blog. You and I are all drowning in information. There is too much of it. So the gating that works today is if you gate something that is of real value. For example, we wrote a 300-page book with a publisher. Or for example, I spent 6 hours making a video course about how to create a podcast, right? That is the real valuable stuff that's worth gating. And I think that's been the biggest switch in B2B marketing is 5 years ago, you could say, and I did this too. Like one of the first things I did at Drift was I made a list of 50 influential marketers to follow on Twitter. And I just paid somebody $50 on Upwork to go make me a list of those Twitter accounts. I put them in a spreadsheet and I made it view only. And I said, hey, put your email in and I'll give you this spreadsheet, right? Now, I've done that. So I'm not just preaching because I think that's silly marketing. I've done that and it's worked for me. But I think today that information is now just such a commodity that you can't gate that type of stuff anymore.
Right. So the bar is higher. And that's the bottom line is if you're going to do content that's gated, it better be, and I think a book is a good example, right? Nobody expects a book for free. And if it is for free, then it's probably not worth the time. So very cool. All right. We didn't really get into bots, so we're going to take a break and then we're going to get deep into them, how you put them on the sites, what you do with them, why these things are actually working. So stay with us. Did you know that Renegade Thinkers Unite was ranked number 2 of the top 10 podcasts for CMOs by Crackerjack Marketing? Wow, we're really honored. Now, we couldn't do that without amazing guests, and we've had some amazing CMOs on this show, and also terrific listeners like you all. If you like what we do here, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player. That way, you'll never miss an episode. Also, as a special thanks, I'd like to send you a free ebook on Renegade Thinkers. Now, for that, just email drew@renegade.com. Now, let's get back to the show. Okay, we're back, and we're talking bots. Yes, that is the secret word, although I did say the secret word was chatbot. So I think I just won a prize on my own show. That's kind of cool. So talk about, I've seen them on lots of websites. There isn't one on renegade.com. Should there be one on renegade.com? Can a small business use these things?
Oh, heck yeah. And the reason why is because if you're a small business, my guess is you, Drew, are not just sitting around on your website all day being like, I hope somebody comes here. You're making podcasts, you're talking to clients, you got so much stuff to do, right? And so the power of bots is that they can work 24/7, 365, no matter where you are. And what's great about that is number one, selfish benefit for you, right? As a business owner, you get leads while you're sleeping, but also selfish benefit for the customer, which is no matter when they go to your website, they get help. Imagine if you went to Amazon and you went to Amazon. Today's Friday. Imagine you went to Amazon at 5:07 p.m. tonight, and they were like, "Ooh, everybody's gone for the day."
Sorry, dude. No books for you.
Yeah, no books for you.
Yeah.
Like, they would be mad. And the problem is, and that example to me works because that's how because of things like Amazon, all of our expectations have been reset as consumers. And so the crazy part is, for most B2B websites, it doesn't feel that way. And so I'm used to being able to order, like, I'm going to order my lunch on my phone in 2 seconds later. I'm going to call an Uber for a ride home later. I can book a hotel on my phone in 1 second later. But if I go to a B2B website, most of the time it's about waiting, right? And so chatbots can be the perfect layer in the middle to be there 24/7, 365, not to replace a human, but to facilitate a great experience. So customers happy, Drew's happy.
Okay. So, and you're right. I can't sit there waiting, watching the person come in and wait, I'm going to grab them when they come to the website. So what's the process? So it's renegade.com, and we're this strategic boutique for B2B innovators, and I want to put a little chat bot on my site. What's the process?
Okay, so what the process is very similar to how you have installed other things on your website. So already in talking to you today, you've mentioned like 4 or 5 different tools. So you're savvy. Sneakily, you're savvy, and so I don't want you told me that I sounded more advanced, but you sound like you know your stuff.
I talk to a lot of MarTech people.
So this is perfect. If you talk to a lot of MarTech people, it's just like they'd installed anything else on their website, where you copy and paste a paragraph of JavaScript, and I don't know what JavaScript means, but I say the word, right, so I can do it.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know, and it's literally just copying and pasting that into the header of your website, right? Which you've done to install Google Analytics, to install something like Hotjar or whatever. That's how you get the code on your website. Then you'd log into Drift and you would build your bot. And the way you build a bot is exactly like you'd build like a type form survey. You kind of add in questions, you move things around, or a Google form survey. You're like, I want to ask this question here. If they don't say this, I want to go that. So it's super easy for people who are not technical. I promise you that I can say those things because I work at a MarTech company, but I am not a technical person.
Right. Have you ever set one up?
Yeah, I use Drift all the time. I've set it up on my own personal website.
Cool.
I've done it for our business. So
okay, so
I can do it.
How long would it take? So again, this is all about me today. How long would it take me to get a working bot on renegade.com?
I would say 30 minutes would be reasonable.
Wow, 30 minutes?
Create an account, log in, get the code of your website, log into Drift, make a simple bot that says, hey there, I'm Drew, check out my podcast. Yes. Do you want to check out my podcast? Yes or no? We could do that in 30 minutes.
Okay. And how much does that cost? I'm a small.
Probably would start at $500 a month.
$500 a month. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there so as a small businessman, you go, okay, that's a serious investment. I mean, that's, you just sort of look at like, oh, right. And that's where a small business would go, whoa, $5,000-6,000 a year. Okay. I get it. I think the value is there. So how do I know? So now I'm putting some money on the line. How do I know that am going to start to get value out of this? And how long would it take me to start to feel like I'm getting value out of the chatbot?
Well, the first question I was asking is what would value be, right? Do you have a sales funnel? Do you have a sales funnel today? If you say no, then I'm going to say, well, this is going to be a new experience for you, but I want you to focus on having conversations with the people that come on your website. Just literally, I want you to answer every chat. I want you to talk to don't even use the bot. I want you to talk to everybody that comes in and see what you can learn. That would be like the very beginner playbook. Moving up from there, though, the thing that you could do is start to replace some of the things you're already doing in your sales and marketing funnel. So, what's an example today? Somebody comes into your website and they have an inquiry and they want to talk to you tomorrow, right?
Right.
So you probably have a form that pops up and people fill that out. So what I would want to test is, can using this bot increase the either conversion rate or the opportunity to the lead to opportunity rate for me, right? So maybe it might get you more conversions, or maybe it might get you more of the right people that are going to ask you for demos. So you might not always get more, but you might get more of the right kind of people.
Right. And so part of the theory here is that they're coming to the website, they're actually interested, they may not be able to find exactly what they're looking for or some relevant case or whatever it is. They want to know, they might want to know what do we charge for a Renegade Thinking program? There's some questions that they have very fundamental that they're not finding on the website, and they just can't be bothered. to call us. So this kind of solves that problem, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we think about a lot is like today nobody wants to be marketed to, nobody wants to be sold to, right? If they are on your website, they're there for a reason. They have questions, and so your website's job is to really be a tour guide for you, for your business, and to like show you around and show you the things that you might want and need and have questions about. Okay,
so when we have this, one of the things that I thought was cool that I noticed in the book was that you could embed a calendar or calendar-like function. Now, I noticed that in the live chat, but I wasn't sure if that's in the chatbot as well. But so if I wanted to, I use what was Schedule Once. They just have another one. But if I wanted to integrate my Outlook calendar so someone could make an appointment to talk right then, hey, you want to talk to Drew? Now, I wouldn't do that on a homepage, by the way, because I get too many, there are too many people visiting that just want to sell us something. But for the folks that actually were interested in buy, say I had a pricing page, or say I had a FAQ or some other page that indicated, like a demo page that a product might have, that they were really seriously interested, I could offer them a link to the calendar. Right through,
yes.
Right
yep.
through.
Yeah, right through Drift. So you wouldn't integrate with one of those things you already use. It's already baked into there. So you would, like, when you create your Drift account, you would connect your Gmail or Outlook, and that would pull in your calendar, and then you'd be able to say, hey, and so like, I'm not in sales, but I use the bot to like manage my calendar. So if you're like, hey, Dave, do you want to be on my podcast? I would send you a link, and the bot would book a meeting for us.
Very cool. Okay, so we've got the schedule. Another thing that I kind of liked was because sometimes you see the bot and it's sort of intimidating because it just says, "Why are you here? How can I help you?" And one of the things I noticed is that you suggested maybe pre-populating with, "Are you here because you're interested in the podcast? You want her to speak? You want to talk about your marketing strategy?" I thought that was really smart.
So you nailed it. Like, that's the biggest mistake people make, is they do something like, "Why are you here?" and then are like shocked that people don't actually engage with that bot. Like, imagine walking into an Apple store and somebody walked up to you and said, "Why are you here?" You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
I'm just looking, like, can you leave me alone? Yeah. Right. And so I think flipping that to have more context, to be like, hey, thanks for checking out our blog. I'm here if you need anything, right? Even something simple like that can be really effective.
And one of the things I noticed that you guys do for yourselves is this is really conversational. Even the bots. I mean, I think I saw one example where someone had typed in, "I want to talk to a human," and the bot said, "Oh, I'm sort of embarrassed," or something like that. It was kind of a funny interchange. How do you encourage your clients to make sure that they're human with their computers?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a bunch of, like, we care a lot about copywriting at Drift. And I think there's a lot of principles that we think about. Like, one of them is, write like you talk and say it out loud. And so, like, I think the exercise of like writing out, like, okay, now you've written out everything the bot's going to say, literally read it out loud and see if you had a brick and mortar store, if you did that, would it be weird? Would it be funny? Would it work? And I think that's a really simple exercise that a lot of people don't do. And that's the goal of having a bot on your website, is to facilitate those real conversations, right? So I think it starts with, like, does this sound on brand for us? Does it sound like a robot? And also, the other piece of it, we don't want to use bots to replace humans. So we make it very clear that this is not the bot is not named Dave, and the bot is not pretending to be Dave. This is a bot. I help Dave, right? Hi, my name is Dave. I'm the bot. I'm Dave's helper. I can help get you in contact with him, right? What do you want? What do you want to know?
Very cool. All right, we're keeping it human with our bots. I'm going to just keep working that little thing that sort of.
I like that. Keep it human with your bots.
All right. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come right back, and we're going to talk about metrics. We're going to talk about sort of Bot 202. Here we go. Stay with us.
You've been listening to another great interview on Renegade Thinkers Unite with Drew Neiser. But the value doesn't end there. As a listener, you can download a free ebook from Drew, Renegade Thinkers, interviews with 11 trailblazing CMOs any business can learn from. Top marketing thought leaders and proven executives from Time Warner, American Express, and Chico's, and others. Get your free copy at renegadethinkersunite.com/ebook. For listeners only at renegadethinkersunite.com/ebook.
Okay, we're back, and we've been talking about keeping it human with bots, which is sort of seems like an oxymoron, but I think it'll work here. And part of it is the language. You guys were very clever. That's one of the things I really enjoyed about the book was that it was conversational, and there was a lot of emphasis on that. Okay, so let's talk about because the book does talk a lot about it's not just about the bots. You also talk about live chat, and they seem to go back and forth. And talk a little bit about that extension of when you move from the computer bot to the human chat.
So it could be a long time, it could be a short time. And what we do is like we want our whole thing is like a sale has never gotten made unless a conversation happens. And so we want to facilitate the conversation between two people. And so that could be if you come to the website and do something that's very high intent, like I want a demo, the bot's going to say, great, what's your name? What's your email address? When do you want it? Great. You'll talk to Tom tomorrow. Very little interaction there. But if you come to if you come to the website and you say, hey, just curious, what's your pricing? Oh, cool. Do you integrate with Slack? Can I be on this plan or that plan? And what about if I'm in UK versus US, right? Those are all kind of like things that companies historically have written FAQs for. And so think of the bot as a tour guide or a helper to take you through some of those questions where it's silly to have somebody sit at a computer all day and have to try to answer those like mundane kind of questions. We think of them as digital paperwork. And so the bot should handle all the digital paperwork. So then when two people talk, it can actually be a valuable conversation as opposed to a terrible sales experience where the sales rep or BDR is like, what's your name? What's your budget? What's your company size? What location are you in? Oh, okay. I can talk to you.
Right.
So
yeah. So the bot does a lot of the qualifying, if you will. And so
exactly.
And what's interesting to me is there's a moment, I don't know when it happened, where most of us sort of got really comfortable with, at least online, finding our own information, looking for these little hacks and shortcuts versus telephones and with the whole phone tree thing. I still find myself hitting that 0 button. I want to talk to a human.
Yeah.
But I think, and imagine, is there the equivalent of a 0 button on a chatbot?
Yeah, it depends. There can be. It's really up to the company on the website. But you can always I think that one of the 0 equivalents would be like, adding your name and leaving your email address and to be followed up with later, which is super simple because what the bot will do is fall back to an email and say, hey, Dave's not here right now, but here's his email. And what do you want? Say what you want to send to him and I'll send it as an email so he can get back to it later.
One of the things that I want to come back to, because I can imagine the skeptics are saying, nobody's going to buy this that fast. We've got a 13-month sales cycle. Why do I really need this? And one of the things that really struck me early on in the book is that the importance of speed, that it really matters. And you think about it from your own personal standpoint, it's like, this is why we shop on Instagram. We see that thing and go, I got to have that golf thing, right? And you just sort of want it at that moment. And so we've all gotten sort of used to sort of that instant gratification, even if we're buying something complicated. So I guess that speed does matter.
Speed is the most important piece of this. And to your question, to your example at the beginning, I actually think somebody with a 13-month sales cycle is a perfect fit for this because if it's a 13-month sales cycle, that means it's a high value, high consideration purchase. And so if I was the consumer in that sales cycle, I wouldn't imagine going back to the website and every time you have to talk to somebody else. And they have to fill you in on the oh yeah, that's right. You did talk to Dave yesterday. Okay, hold on 1 second. So I think it's the perfect scenario for somebody with a longer sales cycle because you can get that personalized experience. But so one piece on that. But yeah, your point is exactly right. Speed matters the most. There's so much data around this. There's a study from Harvard Business Review and InsideSales.com. They found that if you can respond to new leads within 5 minutes, the chances of actually getting in contact with them go up 10x. Which is like not rocket science. I mean, think about when you're not going to sit on somebody's website for 5 minutes. However, we then did a study where we actually went to 500 B2B websites and filled out forms and we wanted to measure the response time. And we found that over 90% of those companies did not respond within 5 minutes. And so there's a big change in like what people expect to happen and what's actually happening. And that's why people don't have a great experience on most companies' websites.
Yeah. It's so true. We worked with a company that, God, it was a long time ago, but did tag management and in e-commerce. I mean, the difference between a site that loads in half a second versus a site that loads, in a second and a half, it's about a 70% loss of business in a second. So the same thing applies. We're just really impatient. And when it comes to our lives, the one commodity that we can never make more of is time. So anything that you can do to help someone, and this is, if you think of bots as a service, you really start to get, not as a sales thing, but think of it as a service that is going to be helpful and focus on that. Then I think you're sort of on a good path, right? Because now you're putting yourself into the customer's shoes and you're saying, how can I be helpful here? What,
totally.
Right? And I think so. The hard part here is if I put this chatbot and instantly hand it over to the sales department, they're not necessarily going to say, I'm reminded of used cars. They're going to say, so can we write it up? Right? I mean, they're just going to want to close the sale. And that's, I think that the flip to the switch here is you're having a conversation to be helpful. That's what we do in conversations, right? We listen, we show empathy. Okay. That wasn't a question. I'm just talking. So
hey, it is your podcast.
I know. I get to, okay. I know it's really, thank you for letting know that. Okay. So, and I wonder, I'm bringing up the word empathy because I noticed that in the book, you did talk about that word in terms of having conversations with people and how to have good sales conversations. And you get into that. And I think people sort of forget that word and the power of that. Talk a little bit about why you actually included empathy and examples of how to sort of have conversations.
I'm so glad you found that nugget in the book because to me, that's the one word that is most important to marketing today, right? Marketing is about helping people to buy, and empathy starts with like, how do I always think about like, what are the good experiences that I have? Why did I love that? And it's the hard part is so many of those times when you have a great experience online, it's nothing like what actually happens with a B2B company. And even though, but we're all buyers, we're all consumers, we are all people. And so I think empathy is thinking about, wait a second, like, and I do this all the time. I in a room full of marketers, they say, how many of you answer the phone when it's a number you don't know? Nobody raises their hand. I say, how many of you answer cold emails, like people trying to sell you stuff? Nobody raises their hand. I say, how many of you try to like skip gated content if you can, right? Everybody raises their hand. But then I say, but then we all go to our jobs in sales and marketing and we do all the things that we hate. And I think everybody goes, oh my God, you're right. So that's what I think empathy is about, is understanding how you buy and understanding that there is no B2B buyer versus B2C buyer because of Amazon, Uber, Lyft, Netflix, all those things. We are all like used to buying that way, and it should work the same way for our businesses.
Yeah, I'm going to add one other layer to this thing, and I call it the give to get economy. I think that we are in this place where you've just got to keep giving and giving and giving if you want to build trust, if you want to get,
love that,
and so the bot in many ways is another way to give. It's like, I respect your time. I know you want to find stuff. I got this website. I may not have architected as well as you liked. I don't know why you're here, but maybe I can get you there. And put that mindset on. You're going to give them something of value, and maybe you'll get a sale as a result of it. I wish I could high five you from here because one of the things we think about all the time is like our philosophy is give, and then ask. And sometimes we don't even ask at all, and it still works out in our favor. Yeah, and I have a sort of story, and I don't like to tell negative stories, but I have to because this one just happened the other day. So I'm very involved in Duke and the Alumni Association. I'm on the national board, and I actually had a call out of the blue, and I actually answered the phone because it was a local number, and it was a gentleman who, out of the blue, who had gone to Duke, who wanted to sell me his financial services thing. Now, I'm totally tuned into Duke, and I said, wow, so have you, what have you done for Duke? Well, I'd like to get more involved. And I said, well, why? And he said, well, my daughter's applying to the school. So suddenly he cares again, right? And had this gentleman interviewed, gone to events, done something, I would have spent hours with the guy. right? He hadn't given, he hadn't invested, he hadn't shown any empathy. And instead it was just like, are you kidding? You're using the network that is really precious to me and valuable to me. And I've invested so much time in it. And so anyway, it was a moment. I had a moment. I got it off it's off my chest now.
But I love that. Like we give away, I think our marketing strategy is to give away so many things. We give away books, we give away podcasts, we give away videos. And so the whole point there is like, there's the reason is it is the, you know, what did you call it? The give take economy,
give to get economy.
Yeah. And it's so true. And I think the difference is now you have to give way more than you used to before. And the reason why is because of today's world, customers have all the power, not companies anymore. And that has really made a big change in sales and marketing.
So one of the things I want to, before we wrap up, is you also talk about using chatbots for customer service and post sale. Talk a little bit about that, because I would like, to me, if I were giving a reason to folks, our clients, I would say, let's start there. Let's start with that. Forget about acquisition. Let's start how do we use this to improve our customer relationships?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple ways. It really do. So number one, it depends on what type of business you have, but at a very basic level, what you could do is you can set it up so you have your customers, and it says this is, you know, Drew's customer, Dave's customer, right? If you have some type of customer success manager or account manager, and then you could set it up so every time that customer comes to your website or logs into your app, they're greeted by you. Hey Dave, good to see you again. I'm here if you need anything. And that's an amazing experience for on the customer success side of things.
That's very cool. So wait, so you come to the website and there's a live chat from the person who is your BDR or your sales.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that also is a really good way to think about it. We do that with ABM and like high value sales a lot too, where, you know, you want the rep there. You don't want the bot there. You don't want the bot. You don't want some random person on the team who then has to go and like look up the account again. You want to feel like, you know, you're buying an expensive car and it's going to take 6 months. And every time you show up to that place, they treat you, you know, like you're the king or queen.
Love it. Okay. So I heard something and I want to sort of play this out. So we're doing an ABM program. We just sent the coolest like bonsai tree to our high value prospect because we wanted them to understand the care and feeding of our business and why we take care and do all these things. And then they see that and go, oh my God, this is the coolest direct mail piece I've ever gotten. And they go to the website. Is that moment we have live chat waiting for those people?
Yeah. It's a great play with direct mail where you could say, I want to have this thing from this person show up on the website, and you can just run it that way. So Dave could send you a direct mail, like I could send you a direct mail piece, and then I could be the one that shows up on the website when you get there.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And it also works in email that way too. So if I'm sending you an email and I send you an email and you click on a link in my email and that's what takes you to the website, you'd also see me.
Oh, I want that. I really want that. No, because it really does close the loop. It makes it human. And it also sort of continues the stun factor, right? Because first of all, it's really cool. When you get a direct mail piece that is worth where you go, oh my God, I usually don't do this, but you share it on LinkedIn because it's so cool. When you get something like that and then you go to the website and it's blah, right? You're sort of disappointed. It's like when I wish for ABM programs, you could actually do personal landing pages that automatic, where you didn't have to say, hey, renegade.com / Dave Gerhardt. It was just renegade.com, but it'd be ready for you. And it was a personal landing page that was as cool as a direct mail, right? So this would be a substitute for that. It's like, wait, Dave's right there waiting for me. That's so cool.
Exactly. Or like, think about who you're sending direct mail to, right? You're not sending direct mail to your, unless you're a massive, massive company with a multi-million-dollar marketing budget, you're not doing direct mail to small businesses, right? You're doing direct mail to a very small set of accounts, 10, 50, 100, 1,000. And so it's crazy to then send your highest value accounts who actually respond to your mail like through the slow lane, right? They should get the fast pass. They're the VIPs. They could skip the line, and that's what's possible.
Very cool. Some great metaphors there. Okay, as we wrap this thing up, one of the things that you all, and I love this, another freaking acronym. I could kill you, but CQLs. Explain to folks what CQLs are and why that's going to save the universe.
So I'm sorry to give you another acronym.
Yeah, I mean, please.
Look, I am sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I want to explain it.
Okay.
A CQL is a conversation qualified lead.
Right.
And we had to come up with a name for it because what was happening is people were basically just skipping the funnel, right? Going to the website, saying, "Hi there, I'd like a demo." Boom. "Hi there, I'd like to buy now."
Right.
"Hi there, I'd like to, request your service." And so the qualification never actually, there was no traditional MQL as a sales marketing and salespeople would know, where like they did this after 3, they got this many points for visiting these many pages, and so we had to come up with a name for what is and the example is David, our CEO, uses this example a lot, which is imagine you walked into a car dealership and there was nobody there, but you were able to go in a car, open it up, check it out, beep the horn, open the glove box, check the tires, whatever, but nobody actually left any information for you or wasn't ready to follow up later. Wouldn't that be that's a great lead? That guy was literally in my store checking out a car. And so we needed to come up with a way to quantify and start to track what happened for those people who literally show up on the website and raise the hand. And so you can, and the cool thing about CQLs are the way that it's built is you can become a CQL instantly because you booked a demo, or I could have a conversation with you for 40 minutes. And at the end of that, you become a CQL. So it's just another way for us to, measure and drift customers to measure how conversations are impacting their funnel. That's a little bit different than traditional form submission or MQL.
Very cool. There's that sparks so many different thoughts, but I'm with you. I'm assuming that there's some integration with Drift and say a Marketo or some other sort of classic lead management marketing automation system, where you sort of the information just passes from your software to a larger platform.
Yeah, so because Drift is for B2B marketers, B2B marketers, there's literally 7,000 tools that we're all using. And so Drift, had to be built to integrate with everything. And so the conversation piece kind of just sits on the front end of your funnel and integrates with all your back office. Okay,
so two things. One, we've been talking about making buying easier. Have to do a shout out to my friends at Brett Adamson at Gardner, because that's his big thing on my Instagram feed. You'll see a picture of Brett going like this, and it'll say "Make buying easier." And certainly this is all about that. The other thing that occurred to me here, and I want to go back to the live chat opportunity. In the process of making buying easier, and Clayton Christensen talks about this: make jobs to be done, right? So as we have a complicated sales process because CFOs are involved, CEOs are involved, IT is involved, CISO might be involved, right? The security people. So there's all these people involved in the process of buying, and some things. There's a CEO, a CFO, a CISO, the security guys, and so forth. And I'm imagining a situation where you have a chatbot or the opportunity for live chat, and you could push the live chat to the CISO expert or the CFO expert or this. And so you could, in that way, make buying easier for each of those individuals. Are there instances where people are doing it that way?
Yes, for sure. And so one thing you can do is if you have the Drift app on your phone, you could get a push notification on your phone when somebody that you wanted to talk to was on the website. And so skip all that and go right from that to a conversation. So if you really care about companies that are in B2B and over 500 employees, when they're on your website, I could get those all directly to my phone and be in line at Starbucks and say, "Hey there," and have a conversation with them that way.
Well, speaking of conversations, I think we could talk a long time, but we got to wrap up the show because people don't have 45-minute commutes.
Okay.
But it's really cool. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to have to come back to this at some point because I know we only just scratch the surface here. But thank you for joining us here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. And to all the listeners, as always, I'm not going to ask you to do a 6-star rating like they do on Dave's show, but I'll take a 5. By the way, I'll be very happy if you gave me a 5 on Renegade Thinkers Unite. And until next week, keep those Renegade thinking caps on and strong.
This has been Renegade Thinkers Unite, but it doesn't end there. Just go to renegadethinkersunite.com for more and subscribe to the show. That way, you'll never miss an episode. We'll talk with you next time on Renegade Thinkers Unite.